Have you ever felt like life is moving too fast, like your mind is cluttered with endless worries and distractions? You wake up already overwhelmed. Your to-do list stretches endlessly, and no matter how much you try to organize your space or your thoughts, chaos seems to follow. It's as if there's no room to breathe, no space to just exist. But what if the solution isn't about doing more, but about doing less? Minimalism is often misunderstood. People imagine empty white rooms, giving away everything they own, or living with only a backpack's worth of belongings. But minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about clarity. It's about making space for what truly matters and letting go of what doesn't. At its core, minimalism is a path to freedom, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. And this is where its connection to Eastern philosophies, particularly Buddhism, becomes undeniable. In Buddhism, there's a concept called shunyata, often translated as emptiness, but it doesn't mean nothingness. It means openness, the potential for everything to flow freely. Imagine holding a cup filled to the brim with water. If you keep pouring, it overflows, making a mess. But if the cup has space, it can receive, adapt, and be useful. Our minds, our lives, and even our homes work the same way. When we remove excess, we create space for clarity, peace, and purpose. Think about your own surroundings for a moment. Look around your home, your workspace, or even your phone. How much of what you own actually adds value to your life? How much of it is just taking up space, gathering dust, or reminding you of things you don't even need to think about anymore? We tend to hold onto objects because of attachment, memories, guilt, or the fear of letting go. We keep things just in case, and without realizing it, we become weighed down by them. There's an old Zen story that illustrates this beautifully. Two monks were traveling together when they came across a woman struggling to cross a river. The older monk picked her up and carried her across. Hours later, as they continued walking, the younger monk couldn't hold back his frustration. "Why did you carry that woman? We're not supposed to touch women." The older monk simply replied, "I put her down at the river. Why are you still carrying her?" We do this all the time, not just with objects, but with thoughts, regrets, and emotional burdens. We carry things long after we should have set them down. Minimalism isn't just about decluttering your home. It's about decluttering your mind, letting go of what no longer serves you, and freeing yourself from unnecessary weight. But it's not just physical clutter that affects us. Our digital lives are just as overwhelming. Think about how much time we spend scrolling through endless feeds, bombarded with information, notifications, and distractions. We consume so much content that stillness feels uncomfortable. But without stillness, we never give ourselves the chance to just be. There's a Zen proverb that says, "When the water is muddy, let it settle, and it will become clear." Our minds work the same way. When we remove the unnecessary distractions and allow stillness, clarity naturally follows. This is what minimalism is truly about. It's not just about getting rid of things, but about making space for what really matters. And when we do that, something unexpected happens. We begin to experience a deep, unshakable sense of peace. The kind of peace that doesn't come from having more, but from needing less. As we strip away the unnecessary, something remarkable begins to happen. We start to see life with fresh eyes. When we are no longer consumed by the need to acquire, organize, or maintain excess, we regain time, energy, and attention. And with that, we start to reconnect with the present moment in a way that feels almost revolutionary. Take a simple walk, for example. When your mind isn't preoccupied with an endless mental checklist, you start to notice things you would have otherwise overlooked. The texture of the wind, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the way the trees sway effortlessly. Life slows down. It becomes richer, fuller, not because you have more, but because you are more present. This deep presence is at the heart of Eastern philosophies, particularly in the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is often mistaken for a complex or mystical practice, but in reality, it's the most natural state of being. It's simply the act of paying attention. In Zen Buddhism, there's a phrase, "When eating, eat. When walking, walk." It's a reminder that peace isn't found in grand gestures, but in fully experiencing whatever you are doing, no matter how small. Think about how we typically eat a meal. We scroll through our phones, watch TV, or rush through bites without even tasting them. But when you eat mindfully, savoring each bite, noticing the textures and flavors, something shifts. A simple meal becomes an experience. And this principle applies to everything. When we bring full awareness to the act of drinking tea, listening to a loved one, or even folding laundry, life stops feeling like something to rush through. It becomes something to live. But there's another side to minimalism that isn't talked about as often: emotional minimalism. It's not just about the objects or distractions we let go of, but also the beliefs, expectations, and mental clutter that weigh us down. How often do we hold on to resentment, comparison, or unrealistic pressures? We fill our minds with self-judgment, regret, or the need for validation, and just like a cluttered home, it suffocates us. In Taoism, there's a principle called Wu Wei, which means effortless action or flowing with life rather than resisting it. Imagine a river. When we struggle against the current, we exhaust ourselves. But when we surrender to its flow, we move effortlessly. The same applies to our emotions. When we resist pain, we suffer more. When we let go, we find peace. A powerful example of this can be seen in the practice of Japanese wabi-sabi, the art of embracing imperfection. In Japan, broken pottery is often repaired with gold, highlighting the cracks rather than hiding them. This philosophy teaches us that beauty exists not in perfection, but in authenticity. And this is a lesson minimalism offers as well. It's not about striving for a perfect, empty space, but about curating a life that feels intentional, meaningful, and true to who you are. When we apply this to our relationships, something shifts. We stop seeking external validation and start valuing genuine connections. Instead of trying to impress others with what we own, we invest in moments, in shared laughter, in deep conversations. We become lighter, freer, not because we lack, but because we are fulfilled from within. In the end, minimalism isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. It's about living with purpose, focusing on what truly brings joy, and letting go of everything that doesn't. And when we embrace this philosophy, we find something we've been searching for all along. Not just simplicity, but profound, lasting peace. As we begin to embrace minimalism, we start to notice an internal shift, one that goes beyond decluttering our spaces. We realize that we don't need as much as we thought we did. The constant pursuit of more begins to lose its grip, and we start to understand that true contentment isn't found in external possessions, but in how we experience life itself. This realization often comes in waves. At first, there may be hesitation. What if I miss what I let go of? But as we continue, we feel lighter, freer, and more aligned with what truly matters. This is a core teaching of Buddhism, non-attachment. In many ways, suffering comes from holding onto material things, to expectations, to identities we've outgrown. But when we learn to let go, not with resentment, but with gratitude, we create space for peace. There's a well-known Zen story about a monk and a traveler. The traveler approaches the monk and asks, "Master, why do you own so little?" The monk replies, "Why do you carry so much?" This question isn't just about physical possessions, but about the burdens we carry in our minds. Are we weighed down by stress, by comparison, by a need to prove ourselves? Minimalism asks us to reflect on what is truly necessary, not just in our homes, but in our thoughts, in our schedules, in our hearts. One of the most powerful aspects of this journey is that it allows us to redefine success. In a world that tells us to chase more, minimalism reminds us that success isn't about accumulation, it's about fulfillment. It's about waking up each day and feeling at peace with the life we've created. Some of the most joyful people in the world have the least, not because they lack, but because they appreciate. And this is where gratitude plays a key role. Gratitude shifts our perspective from scarcity to abundance. Instead of focusing on what's missing, we see what's already here. A quiet morning, a deep conversation, a book that moves us, a moment of stillness. These simple things, when fully embraced, hold more value than any material possession ever could. And when we live this way, something unexpected happens. We inspire others. People begin to notice the peace we carry, the presence we embody, and they start to ask, what changed? And the answer is simple. We stopped chasing. And we started being. We started choosing experiences over things, depth over distractions, and meaning over excess. Minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about alignment. It's about making room for what truly matters. And when we do, we don't just find simplicity, we find freedom. So if this message resonated with you, if you feel inspired to start your own journey, take a moment to reflect. What is one thing, whether physical or emotional, that you can let go of today? Start small. The most profound changes come from the smallest steps. And if this video brought you value, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who might need to hear this message. Let's continue this journey together, one mindful step at a time. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay present, stay intentional, and remember, true peace is found not in having more, but in needing less.